is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
21 questions here on KC Sports Network. Thank you all so much for listening, supporting KCSN. This is always a fun show to do, and I'm very excited to be doing it with my friend Jordan Foote. You can find his great Chiefs coverage at SI Report. You can also hear him on One Royal Way here on KC Sports Network. I know we have a few Royals questions in there as well. Jordan, can I call you Jordy on air? Am I allowed to do that?
I don't care, Ken. I've been called worse, not necessarily on air, but off air, so I'm cool with it, man.
I remember, like, I don't know, a good 6 months ago, you finally told us that, like, you respond to Jordy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I've taken full advantage of that since. Yeah. And so, like, we haven't not called you Jordy since.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great. I'm really excited to be doing this with you, though. Anyways, if you don't know what this is, we are answering questions from the KCSN Discord. When you subscribe to the KCSN Substack, you get access to the KCSN Discord. It's a really fun, thriving community that I pop into once a month.
Yeah, are you sure about that? It might be a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm on a streak now of game days at least. So anyways, that's where all the questions come from. And you can subscribe to the KCSN Substack. $30 a year gets you access to all kinds of premium content that we do, all kinds of articles from Craig, Maddie, myself, Joseph Hefner, all kinds of that. And then you can also get access to the KCS Discord as well. So this is where those come from. Our guy Kay Gumminger. Free Taylor Swift concert at the end of the parade. Who says no? I like the optimism coming out of this. I really like just having a little bit of belief. I think there's some other questions here about realism, but hey, why not have a little bit of optimism here coming out of the gates here?
Yeah, and like, it's no longer at the beginning of this, everyone's like, okay, it's a PR stint, or oh, it's not going to last. Like, it's been a minute, man. This is a full season of this happening, and the parade would be, what, a month and 4 days from when we're recording this? Like, I'm taking it way too seriously, not like I'd be planning on being there for that concert or anything, but big Taylor Swift fan. I think it would be fun. Why not, right? If that happens, then why not cap it off with something like that?
Could you imagine, first off, the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl? Second off, Taylor Swift is on just on the buses, just like
crazy. Matt Nagy just slamming Bud Lights, Taylor Swift, singing, having a party, them getting on stage. Just, it'd be crazy.
Just singing Blank Spaces, I don't know. I'm here for the optimism. WasDog asks, when Ron Rivera likely gets fired on Monday, which, breaking news, Ron Rivera did get let go. Where do you see Eric Bieniemy going, and in what role? What say you, Jordy?
I don't know, man. And I was asked this earlier on the same day we're recording this. Like, I hope for Eric Bieniemy's sake he gets a head coaching job. Like, it's been, I don't want to say that has passed and like the momentum's gone. I just don't think it's going to happen at this point, which sucks to say. But you and I briefly, before we got on here, talked about potentially coming back to the staff in Kansas City. I want your immediate thoughts on something like that.
Well, okay, so first off, just because Ron Rivera got let go doesn't mean that Eric Bieniemy has necessarily been relieved of his duties, right? So
yeah,
I'm sure, he's a hot name to be interviewed by teams. It seems like there's been some reports over the last couple months that Eric Bieniemy will be interviewed or is a candidate to be interviewed for some of the open spots. Like, that's something that has been mentioned, reported in the last month or so as the season starts to get upon itself. Mm-hmm. He's still in Washington. Who knows if he gets an interview there? But I think it's going to be interesting to see how people treat his body of work. Some good things, some bad things with how that offense eventually kind of manifested there in Washington. Not a very good football team, but not a very good quarterback either. that's going to be interesting to watch. As far as like what his outlook is, and if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job. I don't believe that's going to happen for him. I don't know. The only thing that's changed between last year and this year is he's been the offensive leader of a 4-13 team. Now, is it entirely fair to put the blame on Eric Bieniemy? Absolutely not. In fact, I don't think he's the problem with what happened in Washington at all. But also, I don't know who's going to be making a leap to give him that opportunity based on what they saw in Washington either, if that makes sense. So it could be, a organization sees an opportunity for him to be their offensive coordinator somewhere, right? Maybe it is, some people saw enough bright spots understanding the circumstances of Eric Bieniemy and what he was given. So maybe he gets an offensive coordinator job somewhere.
Yep.
Or he has to, go find some job in some capacity somewhere in an Andy Reid tree. Maybe it's a Buffalo. Buffalo might be a team, honestly, that could use his services in some capacity. Mm-hmm. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville is my betting favorite. I would say I think Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, I think that group needs somebody like Eric Bieniemy on that staff. I don't know if Press Taylor is going to be the offensive coordinator there for the long term or not, but Eric Bieniemy might be someone there. So I just don't know how. I think that's kind of my outlook, but I don't think he's going to end up with a head coaching job. I don't know if you think the same or not.
I'm with you. I tried to look up the report on my second kind of setup over here, my second desktop, and I couldn't find. I looked up priority because that's what I thought the word was. I vaguely remember a report on Twitter, highly sought after top candidate. It was something like that, priority for one of the open vacancies. Like if he does leave Washington, and again, like you said, it hasn't officially happened yet. We're not like projecting that it's going to, but it's only natural to expect if a new head coach comes in, you want to potentially shake things up. So I don't think it's going to be a head coaching job. I do think that there is a future for him as an OC in the NFL on a number of teams, and it might not have to take a step back in order for him to step back up and make a lateral move. So I don't know at this point from a head coaching standpoint, going and doing your OC thing somewhere else and having success, maybe that's like the last breath and last hope for him to get a head coaching gig. It sucks, but I'm with you. I think there's not going to be a shortage of like no one's going to turn Eric Bieniemy away at this point because he's interviewed so many times and been with so many different opportunities. So I don't think it's head coaching, but I do think someone somewhere is going to be like, oh, okay, he can bring a few different things over to our franchise.
And maybe that is what springboards an opportunity for him to get more attention and more heat again as a head coaching candidate. If he goes somewhere a little bit more stable with a little bit more talent, they can see his impact. That's not out of the realm of possibility either. I don't think it's going to be a head coaching cycle this year, but I do think there could be some good opportunities stemming from this, and him just separating from Andy could ultimately be a good thing for his outlook. Nick, Sack Nation CFO Johnston, this is the joke. You've posted in the Game Day channel, this is me, the last 2 weeks, and we've won. What safeguards have you put in place to assure you post in the first 5 minutes of the game Saturday to assure the win? So here's the thing. When people tag me in the Discord, I do a lot better job of responding than when I don't. And that's kind of, it's not habit for me as much as I would like it to.
Yep.
If you tag me in it, there's a good chance I'm going to at least see it. And now that we have a streak going, I've got to respond in the Discord. So that's, just tag me, and hopefully I catch it, respond, and we, the Chiefs beat the Dolphins on Sunday.
Can you schedule a Discord message? Like, can you log in right when, or Saturday morning or whatever? I don't think that's a thing, but that'd be right up your alley. Just schedule it for like 7:09. I don't know when kickoff exactly is going to be. That gets a little tricky once you do that, though.
People will be surprised by this. I do read some of the things that happen in the KCSN Discord more than you realize too. Jordy, you seem relatively active in there.
I try to be, yeah. I think I finally have the notifications set up on my phone and not my Apple Watch, where every 5 seconds I'm looking at the watch or looking at the phone. I think I've finally got it fine-tuned. It took, 2 years or however long it did, but I finally have it where if I see something, it's exactly, the timing I want, the channel I want, then I can hop in and look at some stuff. It's also good for news because, like, if I'm not on Twitter or if I'm out in the yard messing around in the summer and something happens, Discord will say, right when someone else's account does on Twitter. It's all one crazy community in the best of ways.
Oh, it's very enjoyable.
Awesome.
They do some really wild, wacky stuff. Draft season is always very fun there. Like, it's a good time. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of your questions right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Thank you, everyone, hanging out here on 21 Questions. Really appreciate all of your support. Thank you for all the great questions as well. It always means a lot. This has been a lot of fun doing this over the last couple of years. Basically, since the inception of KC Sports Network, this is one of our first shows ever. And so, yeah, we really appreciate the questions. And Arrow asks, which Jayhawk would you like to see on the Chiefs the most? This is fun because Jordy also has some Jayhawk preference as well. I would like to know from you, Jordy, which Jayhawk you would like to see on the Chiefs the most.
Is Big Dom going to be a guard in the NFL?
I believe Dominic Pooney will be a guard, and
I think he
might be able to kick out to the right tackle position.
I think I'm in the same boat, and I like his run blocking profile more than his pass blocking profile at the next level. I think he's going to be good motor, hardworking, strong player, all that stuff that you're going to look for. But I do have questions about his range and his length. I think he's a guard at the next level. Still, I think he's one of the more notable names from the KU draft class. Everyone was like, oh, Devin Neal, all these prospects long term. Obviously, coming back, KU got some fortunate breaks there. So I think Big Dom, he is my top. I'm keeping tabs on him for the NFL draft.
So one of the things I really try to do as an evaluator is I'm probably too harsh on Kansas prospects because I watch too much Kansas football relative to some of the other programs out there. It's a team I cover. And so I try to be even probably a little harsher on KU prospects than I am others because, I have more just a high, you got to be immersed into it to be able to talk about it the way we talk about it on the show and all that stuff. Yeah. Dom Pooney got mocked in a recent mock draft by Bleacher Report as a first-round pick.
Really?
Yes. As the 32nd pick in the NFL draft. And he's got some Brandon Thorne does some incredible offensive line evaluations, and he is a big fan of Dominic Pooney. And I'll tell you what, I think Dominic Pooney is a top 50 pick in the draft. As coming from somebody who tries to tamp down, my viewpoint because I don't like homerism to sneak into draft evaluations. Yep. It drives me nuts. It's not healthy for anyone, and it's not good for the discourse. And it's fun to watch the NFL side and the college football side kind of crash into each other during draft season, right? Because, it gets very contentious when, the Tennessee fans don't like what you said about Jalen Hyatt or whatever, third round pick Jalen Hyatt, who wasn't a first round pick. Dominic Pooney, I think, can potentially play 4 positions at the NFL level. I think he could be a right tackle. What he has done in his development is wildly impressive. He starts as a guard along the interior for Kansas, starts immediately after transitioning from Division II. They ask him to go play left tackle this year, and does an outstanding job as a tackle at a all Big 12 conference level. He was an all Big 12 player. I think he is a plug-and-play NFL starter, most likely along the interior, his length is a problem for him holding up as a tackle. He might be able to hold up at right tackle, but I think he's ultimately going to be a guy that kicks in along the interior. But he has enough versatility that he's probably going to be... he did a great job at left tackle this year. He was outstanding at left tackle this year. And when I heard that KU was going to be doing that, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's the right move. It was the right move because he was an all Big 12 player at the left tackle position. So he's a very desirable prospect. That's why he's getting an invite to the Senior Bowl. That's why he's getting a lot of love from key evaluators that I really respect. Yeah, he's for real. And it's Don Pooney. I've put him in the interior for the Chiefs and continue to thrive. But yeah, he is the real deal. People are going to be surprised how high it goes when it's all said and done, I think. KC from KC, would Demarcus Robinson have been the Chiefs wide receiver 1 this year? Why is the answer at yes? And should the Chiefs re-sign him?
He would have been one of their best ones. I don't know if it's top 1, but it's probably top 2. Like D-Rob, man, obviously different quarterbacks, but similar style of this guy can unleash any ball at any time with like Matt Stafford. Like D-Rob has always been good at the double post king, like really the crazy stuff. He makes these insane plays, but he can't make the basic ones, which sometimes is a Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. This year, they sometimes can't even make the crazy ones. But D-Rob would be, it's Rice, and then I think D-Rob. And earlier in the year, like Justin Watson was producing enough to where you'd see like there's a legit argument, but over the course of the year that he got hurt, kind of faded out. So I never thought that I'd be saying this, but yeah, D-Rob would be a top 2 wideout on the Chiefs this season.
D-Rob would help this year, for sure. D-Rob would help this year for sure. And I don't know if they should re-sign him because he's on the wrong side of 30 heading into next year. So
spatial awareness was better this year. I don't know what happened. Like he still had the kind of head ass, like he had a fumble a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, D-Rob, but for the most part, he was catching the ball and turning upfield. So I don't know if the Rams like noticed that and beat it out of them or what happened.
Looking back to the beginning of the year, did you actually think that the Chiefs would have a top 3 defensive unit? And who has exceeded expectations on that side of the ball? I think you start with the secondary. I think they've exceeded expectations. I didn't think beginning of the year that they would, like before the season started. I didn't think Tucker Franklin was very high on them, if I remember correctly. Thought they were a top 10 unit heading into the season. But, the secondary is absolutely exceeded. Like Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed look like absolute blue chips. It's kind of funny, some of the stuff we saw out of Trent McDuffie in the preseason, there's like a little bit of concern that his length was going to show up again and be a problem, but it literally has not the entirety of the season. And so good on the Chiefs and good on that Chiefs secondary because they've definitely been the big change agent, I think, for this team.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I thought this defense was going to be right around 15th, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, if the Chiefs have a top 3 offense and then an average defense, they're just going to destroy everybody." It turns out they have a top 3 to 5 defense and then the middling offense, on a decent day. So I did not think that it would be this good. I thought the best case for them was about 10th, and you could say, well, 8th in points, 12th in DVOA, split the difference, all that stuff. Like this defense, just no matter what metric you look at this year, unless you're looking at like rush EPA per play, like if you really want to break it down, but across the board, it's a top 5 defense. And I did not think that was possible. And I think it is the secondary. You've got a little bit better of a George Karlaftis season than I thought we were going to get. I just thought he was a lot closer to his ceiling as a rookie, which not trying to insult him, but you're getting that guy. And he was just a very, you're going to get what you think you're going to get type of player. But yeah, it's the secondary. It's Sneed, it's McDuffie, it's Brian Cook being very passable, I guess you could say, when he was out there. The Mike Edwards signing panning out, Justin Reed, highs and lows overall decent. So it was a big surprise that the defense was this good and really this soon. It was from wire to wire a really, really impressive unit.
What does a realistic Chris Jones extension look like that the Chiefs would be happy with? Eric, so you ready for this? I don't know if there is one.
I don't either.
And it's just because they went through this whole thing this year. Chris Jones wanted his money now because he's going to be on the wrong side of the 30 for this next contract. The reason Chris Jones was so adamant about getting paid now is because he knew it was going to be more difficult for him to get paid the longer and older he gets. I don't think that there is a long-term extension that Chris Jones will be happy with, that the Chiefs will be happy with out there. I don't think there's a middle ground, and I think Chris Jones will not be a Chief next year. I don't know if that means a trade. I don't know if that means letting him walk, but I don't expect him to be back.
He didn't want the 2 for 54.5 or whatever they offered him. And you've got these projections like Spielberg at PFF, still 4 for 120. I was like, okay, that's a lot. Then Spot Track was giving him, I think, 3 for around 85. It was like 28 point whatever million per year. I think he is worth like the same thing I thought last year, a 3 for 75. You give him 25 million a year, like, buddy, you're not Aaron Donald. You had an Aaron Donald year. Turns out that was the case. He's still been really good this year, but not that tip top, clear cut, the best defensive tackle in the NFL. And then you factor in the Chiefs, and the question is for the Chiefs. I don't know if even at the money they were offering last year, I don't think they're happy with that this year, if that makes sense. After everything that's transpired, I just don't think that they could be content with it, and they could have Chris Jones for 2 more years at a premium market rate. But I don't think anyone's thrilled with that on either side.
No. And I don't think the offer that they gave last year is going to be on the table.
No.
At all.
Nope.
And there's a reason that they didn't give him his incentives and made him earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Moneyish asks if you have a favorite snow game. And I don't know if that means a game you play outside in the snow or your favorite sporting event snow game. I don't know which one it means. I'm going to leave that up to you.
I don't think I have either, and I didn't see that one. Like, I had wrote down some of the questions that jumped out at me, and I think I glossed over it, so it's kind of catching me off guard.
This is great.
I like sledding when I'm outside. Like, obviously, I probably haven't done that in like 6 years. Like, I think when it must have been, I was 17, so it was 7 years ago. We went out and like sledded a few times during the winter. So young. Turned 25 in a couple weeks. I'm at like, feel like it's a midlife crisis, even though hopefully it's obviously not that. But I think sledding, like a good old fashioned snowball fight. When I have kids, I think building a snowman's going to be super fun. But I don't really have too much beyond that.
I'll go with Mahomes' snow game.
But those are good too. Those are pretty decent.
I think I'm a snow game guy. Chief Golden Co. asks, do we think that Patrick Mahomes needs to have an over my dead body game to beat the Miami Dolphins this weekend?
So that stretch of like, was it the Raiders, then Green Bay, then Buffalo, then New England? And in like 3 of those games, he was playing really well, and sometimes it didn't really matter unless they were absolute back-breaking mistakes. Like Maddie said, throwing with his chest and just saying, F it, I'm going to chuck this ball to this guy and it's going to be there on time. They're going to be there on time. He has to have something like that. I don't know if he can have a throwing to Marcus Kemp in the AFC Championship game because Juju is hurt. Like, I just don't know if that's physically possible with the personnel that he has. And then you factor in the tackle situation. You factor in kind of an inconsistent run game sometimes. Like, this version this year of like the Patriots game, maybe. And then you hope for not a ball that's tipped up in the air by your own receiver that gets picked off.
I don't think he has to have an over my dead body game to win against the Miami Dolphins. I don't think that that's the threshold. It does, I think they can win without that kind of performance. I think the Dolphins are beat up. I think there's, some notable struggles there with this team. But here's the thing. I think you're getting one because it's the playoffs. And if you remember before the high ankle sprain against the Jaguars, how locked in Mahomes was in that game, it was unbelievable. He looked incredible. And he still carried a lot of that throughout that entire playoff. Even though he was playing on a high ankle sprain, he still played really, really good football basically on one leg. So I don't think they need one to win this game, but I think they're getting one, and I think they're getting one as long as the Chiefs are hanging around. It is not going to be because Mahomes plays poorly that the Chiefs miss, the Chiefs season ends. Sure. And there is another question to kind of follow up about that, and it's kind of about the NFL playoffs. Since DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. You can bet Chiefs props right now and then winning the Super Bowl. You can bet, some of the over-unders on the games incoming here. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. You like that?
Nice.
Anyways.
That was good. You're
welcome. Kyle C. asked for an honest playoff prediction. Take the Chiefs' glasses off and give it to us straight. And see, I think this ties in a little bit to what I just said. Jordan, I'll let you go first because I just talked way too much.
I think they're going to win on Saturday. I don't know what the final score is going to be. I don't know what the stipulations are going to be, but I think they're going to win. Just like you said, the Dolphins are too banged up. Every stat that comes out, every tweet that comes out makes them look worse. Like, oh, they're this and this against this team, or, oh, when the weather is this, that, and the other. Like, logically speaking, the Chiefs are just a better team right now. And even if they're not, the Dolphins aren't going to be playing at their apex. So I think they win. But I got to admit, man, if they go to Buffalo, I think it's just a fitting end to the season. Like, just no bias, no nothing. They make a couple mistakes. It costs them. Josh Allen plays a good game. I don't want to say the Bills wreck them because I just don't think that's really an outcome in this scenario. But I think they end up losing in the divisional round, and that like serves as the wake-up call. Okay, this really wasn't enough. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And that can happen in the Super Bowl. It can happen in the AFC Championship. But I just think I have a weird feeling that this is going to be the one where people say, oh, the Chiefs are just one of those normal teams. And then they bounce back next year and they're not one of those normal teams.
I don't think I'm going to at any point go through this playoff and predict the Chiefs to lose. And
it's hard to.
And it sounds like it's Chiefs glasses, but if you've been listening to me and you've been listening to the lab for the longest time, I think you probably have a pretty good idea that I'm not a big homer. It is hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know why anyone would, especially considering that the Chiefs have an elite defense. I just have a hard time not trusting the sample size of, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes' entire career as the starter of the Chiefs, where you know nothing less than an AFC Championship game in Arrowhead. Now, the Chiefs, the ability for the Chiefs to host the AFC Championship game is out of their hands in a lot more tangible way than it's ever been because of the 3 seed, because they're going to have to potentially travel twice. They made their bed with some really rough stretches of football. But I think you could, there's 2 things. You could argue that this team was very close to winning some of these games. In fact, they were. They all one-score games except for one, which was the Broncos game that was closer than the score indicated. This defense is outstanding. Steve Spagnuolo in January is outstanding. I said you don't need an over my dead body game against the Dolphins to win. I believe that. I believe you are getting over my dead body games for the duration of the playoffs, though. And so I have a hard time believing that the Chiefs will lose with this defense and with over my dead body Patrick LeVon Mahomes, who is the most experienced player in this playoffs, who is proven that he will go to insane lengths to help his team and push his team across the finish line. Good luck. Good luck trying to eliminate that team. So I think, this week will tell us a lot about this team. Casey from Casey asks, have you ever had a Cookie Society cookie, Jordy?
I haven't. And I've thought about getting a subscription or like the sampler or whatever several times, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet.
They're so good. Every flavor I've had ever has been incredible. So if you haven't had one yet, run, don't walk.
Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just going to open up another tab here.
He's on his way ordering some cookies right now, as he should.
Yeah.
Buzz Jackson, do you think the Bears should draft their top quarterback or acquire assets trading down and drafting a guy later?
I like Justin Fields. I think that there is a path to Justin Fields staying in Chicago and being successful and being really good. I also think they can afford, quote unquote, to whiff on a quarterback. They cannot afford, quote unquote, to keep Justin Fields and have it not work out and watch one of the quarterbacks they could have taken turn out to be really good. So I think if you think highly enough of Caleb or Drake, you take that guy, you move on from Fields. And it's going to hurt because Fields could very well go on somewhere and be really fun and really good. But the downside of that, one hand, you're like, oh, the Bears whiffed on a quarterback, like what's new? But if you keep Fields and it doesn't work out, and that added element of you missed on a generational / really, really good or whatever quarterback, then you're really kicking yourself. So I think you have to bite the bullet and take your guy.
I think you trade Justin Fields. That's where I'm leaning right now. You trade him, you probably get a second round pick out of him from the Falcons.
Yeah.
And you draft your quarterback and you spend $1 bajillion this offseason to, you sign Chris Jones.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
You try to continue to fortify up front. You're in the trenches, both sides of the ball. Add a pass catcher in free agency, retain Darnell Mooney, all that good stuff. Build an infrastructure for your quarterback and let Drake May thrive. It is Drake May for me right now, by the way.
Me
I don't know
too.
if that's breaking
I agree.
news, but
yep.
I think come April, it's not going to look as crazy to say. And I don't think it's crazy right now to say Drake May over Caleb, because I think Caleb has some very fatal flaws that are kind of concerning. So, yeah. Lee87 asks, besides yourself, who has the best transition game at KCSN? It's Briscoe cutting off Seth.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Jordan, you get asked, who do you think have the best transitions at KCSN, and what's your favorite, Jordy?
I can't say what my favorite one is, but I think it's you. I'm not going to reference the one that is my favorite, but yeah, Briscoe cutting off Seth is great. And like every time I feel like I can sense it about to happen, but then he asks something else and like interjects real quick. Like the timing, it's not an exact science. It's a free flowing living thing, but he just handles it perfectly every single time.
Mike Denny. What is the best revenge storyline in the wildcard round this year? There seems to be a lot to choose from. So, I have one. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's let you go.
Yeah, I do.
Is it Stafford?
I think it's Goff against the Rams. Like, it involves Stafford, but like, I think Stafford likes the Lions like Stafford. It's Goff. Like, Sean McVay openly being like, this guy stinks. I'm moving on to someone who can do the stuff I want to do and process quicker. Like, he didn't belittle Jared Goff by anything he said, but it was the things they did. And then afterwards, the stories that were told, you're like, the writing was on the wall. It was going to happen. So I can totally see a scenario where the Rams come into Detroit and Jared Goff just whips up like 325 and 3 touchdowns on him or something against an inexperienced NPC defense and secondary. And then he gets the revenge. So like the Tyreek Hill and Chiefs thing is cool, I guess. But like they've already played him. And if the Dolphins won, that would be a wild revenge thing, and he'd talk his talk. But I think it's Jared Goff.
I think it'd be fun to have the. I go back and forth to this because I don't know if I really want the Texans to thrive either. But the Texans making the playoffs before Deshaun Watson, or winning a playoff game with over the Browns.
I didn't even think about that because Flacco's been going.
Yeah, with Deshaun Watson's cap hit and all that stuff, I think would be kind of interesting, winning with some of their draft capital and that stuff too. So I think I like there are so many great stories. Tyreek coming back, I don't really care about that at all.
Yeah.
I know some people are really beat up about that or excited about that. Lee 87, are there any more moves, developments, and player improvements that you think realistically is possible to make the Royals into an AL Central contender trophy?
With the moves they've made, my gut feeling was they jumped about 15 wins. And then I went through and went on Fangraphs and did the wins above replacement calculations and did projections, did my own. I was like, I came out to 14 games. So if you think, and their Pythagorean win-loss was 64 last year. So if you jump from that, they're at 78. They won 56 games. In reality, that puts you at 70. I think they were probably about a 60-win team. That gets you to 74 and 88. That's nowhere near enough. I think the Central takes 84 to 87 wins this year, barring a blockbuster that probably involves Nick Prado, Michael Garcia, and the entire farm system that already isn't great for a really good player. then you're really trading for one guy. So I just don't think it's possible. It's not to slight the stuff they've done, but this year is going to set up whatever happens if they're competitive in 25.
Pitching, just upticks.
Got to pitch.
Like across the board. Like it's just got to beating projections in it with your arms, I think, for everybody. Oh, your co-host Joe Penfield asks, which previously maligned receiver makes the big splash play in a playoff game? It's MVS. The answer is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He is going to have so many opportunities, I think, being on the field that they might be able to give him a shot down the field and him make a play. So it is going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling if it is anybody. B. Higgs asks, would you rather sit in the top row of Arrowhead for Saturday's game or a September game when it's 100 degrees and sunny? This is an incredible question.
I think it's cold. It's got to be cold, right? I'm not sweating. I hate sweating, and like that's part of it. But I think you can obviously only heat up so much. I'm taking the cold, dude. I'm toughing it out. I'm risking frostbite. I'm bringing the hot hands in. Like I'm just gonna go with the cold.
I think I'm going hot.
No way. No way. You'd be miserable all afternoon, all evening. I mean, you would be when it's cold too, but still.
There's a lot of misery involved on both sides.
Yeah.
I
bring your Patron in a water bottle. Like you can warm yourself up. You can't escape that heat, especially when it's sunny. Depending on where you're sitting, you are absolutely you're done.
So I've been in very hot games at Arrowhead, and I've been at very cold games at Arrowhead, and I feel.
I've never been to a hot game. I've only been to cold ones, and I was uncomfortable, but I was okay.
It's layers. It's cardboard on your feet.
Yep.
Okay. I'll go cold. I'll go Saturday at Arrowhead. Huh. I'm switching. Okay. I'm switching. Okay. I'm switching.
They're both bad. Don't get me wrong.
You can probably do enough to help manage your issues. Yeah, I'm switching. It's hot. Or it's cold, I mean. You know what I meant. Lee 87, what element of the Shrine Bowl, I think you meant Shrine Bowl because we go to the Shrine Bowl, are you most looking forward to? So yeah, we go to the Shrine Bowl every year. Eric Galgo is putting out a fantastic product. They do a really good job taking care of the kids that are there, but they also do a really good job of taking care of the media. Candidly, the media situation at the Shrine is best in class. Other bowl games that you can go to, it is a cattle pen. Literally, they rope all the players in. They have them eating lunch at tables in the middle, and then you just grab them and try to interview them. And you have them there's an hour for each team. So there's really like 2 good hours of media availability. And then you might be able to schedule a telephone call and record the telephone call with them. Like,
yeah,
at the Shrine, we've been treated incredibly well. We get sit downs with dozens of players. That's why we've had really cool interviews with Brock Purdy, Isaiah Pacheco, BJ Thompson, Keandre Coburn. We've been able to do all that kind of stuff. So, but honestly, my favorite thing is I love getting to sit down and hang out with my friends. So getting to hang out with Beej and Craig and Maddie and Tucker, and it's a lot of fun. We have a great time. So that's what I'm most excited about. Keith McLean, our guy. Does the offense finally figure it out, quote in quotations, on Saturday, showing us something a little closer to what we've come to expect from the Chiefs?
I don't think they necessarily figure it out, but I think they potentially make one fewer critical mistake, and you mix in the very slim chance that there's just that one set of plays, like a couple throughout the game that Andy Reid can mix in, and they quote unquote peeled everything back or dumbed it down or whatever the report was. That one wrinkle could give them a flawless drive or near flawless that ends in a touchdown. And if you have that on top of making one fewer mistake, that gives you the 27 points or whatever, and against the Dolphins in a playoff game in the cold, I think there could be an argument like the following day, the Chiefs are back, they fixed it. So I think it's possible they improve. Not quite willing to say that they're going to quote unquote figure it out just yet.
I think there's going to be a level of competency and a level of realism. So what I mean by that is you are going to see more competency on offense, and there will be a lot more realistic expectation of the players on the field, which means snap, like some of the stuff we talked about, it's snap count for specific players, usage for specific players. there are going to be, I think those things will help lead to competency. It's going to be a harsh truth. I think, you may not see some players that you have seen in the regular season because it's done trying to give them a shot. Maddie asked, would you rather live on a submarine for the next 3 months or the International Space Station?
I think the space station. I don't really know, admittedly, too much about either one, but I think that would be infinitely more fun than a freaking submarine.
The only thing I'd be worried about is like, if you're in space for 3 months, like how does that affect your body? Like, wouldn't it kind of like make it difficult? Like your transitional out of 3 months at the space station. Like, isn't there some restriction on how long people can be in the space station? Like,
I think so.
I don't know what that threshold is, but
I'd take the risk. It'd be worth it.
Space would be sick.
Yeah.
Space would just be sick. Let's just be honest. And last one, Keith asks, does Rashee Rice start seeing double teams by opposing defenses, or does this have a serious impact on his numbers?
It's harder to double someone who's like getting those like smoke screen. Like it's harder to double someone whose average depth of target's so low, who's not advancing down the field as much, running the intermediate stuff as much. So I'm going to say no, just because he's not there yet in terms of his role. Now, this could be a 2024 actual next season conversation. And I think Travis Kelce is still just good enough to where a team doesn't want to always dare to not double him. Then you have less bodies to put on someone else. So I think, no, it's not really an indictment on Rice as a player, just being real about where he is. And he almost had 1,000 yards doing it. So he's still pretty damn effective either way.
Rashee Rice is awesome for what he is. Teams aren't probably going to honor him with a double team because of the way he plays and what they use him for. Maybe they're more intentional about trying to take away some of the easy completions for him, though. I could see a team trying to do that, and that's where it's going to be interesting. That's where the vertical stretch game comes in. A lot of things going to start having to come together here pretty quickly for the Chiefs, because if they don't, they're going home. But I don't think it's Rashee Rice getting doubled. Travis Kelce is still going to get doubled. It's still going to run through Travis Kelce. And some other players outside of Rashee Rice are still going to have to step up, though. That is going to do it for 21 questions. Thank you all so much for your wonderful questions. Thank you to Jordy Foote for jumping on with me. Kent Swanson. We'll catch you later.